Final ending to the committed one. Part 1 down below. There is no trickle truth. I did sleep with OM while trying to conceive deplorable. I know. I'm happy to pay for a paternity test. BH now wants me to prove it via getting a sample from OM. How that's feasible, I don't know. BH is not be willing to submit his sample and wants me to prove it. The facility won't test with hair, so my only other option is to go to the state where OM is and beg for one after telling him to stay the hell away from me. I know it's BH's. If you know anything about conception, it's not medically possible. It could be anyone else's. I would hardly say that is more important than salvaging what's left of my family, but in my line of work my picture, name and phone number are everywhere online, in the paper, magazines, etc. Do you really think that getting a new account would create any anonymity for me? It's all or none. There is no point in having them if they don't advertise me and what I do. I would consider deleting them, but it goes without saying that I lose the ability to prospect for more business and thus lose income. That has to be a calculated financial decision for the family. I'll take my problems to a counselor instead and see what I can learn there. I'm all for constructive criticism, but since this jury has already hung me clearly, I'm not going to gain anything that will be helpful to my really crappy situation. In case any of you haven't figured it out, I'm a real estate broker. You can't sell a home without advertising it. You can't advertise it if there is no name, number, website associated with the advertising. You also can't attract new business if you don't have your name and phone number out in the public other than on a sign on someone's front lawn. Despite what the term social media implies, I use it for business because this is the medium that my Gen Y clients use as well as some of my older clients. So, for my purposes, it's really not very social. Additionally, OM is blocked from reaching me via these accounts. BH saw to that himself weeks ago because I myself did not completely understood how to do it. Besides all that, figured out that I wanted no contact when I started deleting, unfriending, blocking him from my accounts. He reached out to blackmail me again because the message was clear, except that I stuck to my guns and made no contact back other than to say, do what you have to do. As far as changing social media accounts, it's the same space. So, it would be akin to changing my name from X to Y. Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, but to a lesser extent, use your true name and other personal details as the identifier. Saying that paying for call blocking was too expensive was a rash reaction. Getting my family back is priceless. However, it needs to be thought through whether this is an effective solution. Again, if my name and phone number are everywhere and he can access me, or what is to say he can't use another number to contact me, which would make the block ineffective. And I personally have no desire to speak to anyone who has threatened to blackmail me twice unless my lawyer is present. Would you? So, my final thought is, does this achieve working hard? Yes. Working smart? Maybe not. Comment. She has never taken full responsibility for any of these actions. To recap, mean hubby and crappy marriage is the root cause of her infidelity. Oh, that and the other man expressed an interest. She didn't actively engage in an affair. Remember, one thing led to another. It was just a whirlwind of passion and surprises. Even with a serious travel commitment to see him, the bonding was bad, and even the next day, she said the OM began abusing her, just as she claimed the husband did. Yet she stayed. Here's where responsibility for the affair shifts from husband to OM, who later holds this successful independent businesswoman hostage as his long-distance, occasional love slave. Let's remember that the guy was 6 hours away. That's a state away in most places. He wasn't next door or in the office across the hall. This wasn't an affair of convenience. This was a 5-year relationship, which began, if my math is correct, 2 years into what is now an 11-year marriage. For half of this marriage, she's been schlepping another man. The other half, she's been lying about it. She didn't stop it, even while claiming to feel terrible and having the spirits of her grandparents shaming her from above. Never in the 5 years did she summon up enough self-will to end it. She picked up the phone every time he called, and when asked why she didn't block the number, it was too expensive. I'm sorry, I just don't hear actual remorse. I hear regret, embarrassment at being fully exposed, fear of an uncertain future, and a lot of blame shifting. If you had to give up your career to save your marriage, would you? If you had to move to a completely different side of the country or even another country altogether, would you? If you are only willing to do what is needed to save your marriage, you will fail. You need to be willing to go above and beyond and take the initiative, anticipating what is not only needed but what would be even slightly helpful. Do you understand what I am trying to communicate? OP responds, I agree completely and would give up my career, the city we live in, and move anywhere in the world. BH knows that, and we had spent hours discussing where in the world we could go, and I did some research into other countries prior to the TT before my start of this post. I just want to keep my family together. I'm not a great stay-at-home mom because working affords me feeling appreciated and adult interaction, but I would give it all away and join the PTA, do carpools, playdates, and make dinner and love after that if it would make a difference. I just want my family to grow up, old together. I want my 4mo baby to grow up with her siblings and a mommy and a daddy because we really had worked up to becoming a great team up to D-Day. I made the timeline of events. I'm spending hundreds to get copies of my phone, text records, have researched and will buy 3 paternity tests for each of our kids. I ordered the book Not Just Friends and am reaching out to counselors. The number of the one I went to previously is not working. I already had a whole host of my mom, self-esteem and trust issues, so I guess I have a lot to do. I'm trying to be strong for BH in his range of emotions, and I'm trying to do anything he asks of me, but he wants me to move out, so I'm building visitation schedules and finding a place to live. I'll go to the reconciliation forum and look for encouragement there. I'm really struggling with all this. It's very hard to get out of bed each morning, but I have an infant and a job I have to maintain. I've lost about 8 pounds, but I was only 110 to start with. I cry in my car so no one sees me. This is my worst nightmare come true. I just never saw us ever splitting apart, and know while I was off doing my dirty deeds, I didn't consider all of the consequences. He's asked me to give up friends who knew what was going on and were accessories to the crime, which I'll do. He asked me to take off my wedding rings, which I did, as much as I really don't want to. I just want to do what I can to show how sorry I really am. I don't want to fight him. This is hard enough and I just don't have the energy to fight. I would do the restraining order, but have heard that it can open a can of worms, and that often leads to the recipient of the row finding the whereabouts of the person who files. Since OM has guns and I personally think is unstable, I'm not sure I'm willing to take that chance, but would consider going to the police for the blackmail piece. I just want this all to go away. I can do it in chunks, but I am having a hard time processing this all at once when I just want to stay in bed and cry. I know I have to face the music, but I can't do it all in a day or week. I'm always open to criticism and said I was, but if I can't learn from whatever is being said, I'm not open to just being flogged. Clearly, I messed up, but there are some nasty things being said that are just plain condescending. You can make your point without being nasty. Something bad must have happened here for all of us to be on this site. We're all seeking counselor to share counsel, so can we respect each other? To the point about not being very physically charged, for a long time I had a really grueling schedule. I essentially worked 12-hour days for a long time, plus dealt with the kids' stuff, school assignments, doctor's appointments, soccer on the weekend, so all of this weighed on my head and bonding could be tedious. I realize that it's no excuse, but that's what happened to me. I eventually got to resent my job, which I really do love doing, and when you add all of the other responsibilities of life, planning family trips, doing taxes, coordinating most repairs on the house, I'm pretty handy but have my limits, friends, etc. I just had no time for me. I haven't watched TV in years. I've always tried to make sure I didn't let myself go. I still catch looks to this day from men. BH also was very wrapped up with work, and I think while he didn't intend for it to interfere, it did. To add that with 2 small kids, they are always around except after bedtime, which we both spent working for a long time. Time for bonding was relegated to mornings, which were a challenge for me because I had so much to do then, maybe less so now, and weekends, which we did try to engage, but you can only lock the door with the kids running around by themselves for so long, and if it was a soccer weekend, good luck. Date nights went from weekly to non-existent when I got pregnant. I was so sick, not physically, but nausea for the first 16 weeks, damn estrogen. And when I finally got out of the fog, I was horny as hell, but he was just freaked about by poking his pregnant old lady. After I gave birth, I just wasn't ready. Waking up at random hours, hormones not working in my favor, so it was painful and not enjoyable at all. I never mentioned this, but almost from the time I was pregnant through when I gave birth, our home was under construction and I managed working with our general contractor and did all the design myself. It was like another full-time job. I actually stopped going to the office because I was always being called home, so I finally just started working there instead. I think that's what really burns me. Before I caught his EA, I said, "What's up, you're not yourself," and he told me I'm bored. I said, "You're what?" "I'm killing myself with all I have on my plate. I can give you something to do." I'm still tying up loose ends today, except that instead of to enjoy the home, it appears I'm prepping it for sale. Karma is really such a bee. For the last 3 weeks before the tsunami of the truth hit, we had tons of bonding and it was good. We had 2 staycations at nearby resorts with the kids, and even though we were all piled into the same room, once or twice we found a way to do the deed, kind of icky, I know, but at home it was pretty good. We even got lunch one day, had a few drinks, and had a sooner, something that I am usually too responsible to do. It was awesome. I realize the error of my ways, but I've always beat myself up over stupid things, trivial stuff, and that would weigh on me too. I'm a complete head case and realized that therapy was in order probably a long time ago. The last thing I'll say about this is that to me, when we had slept together years ago when things were bad, it frequently felt like he was using me for bonding. Sounds silly, but it felt like he would be nice to me. We'd do the deed and shortly thereafter, the meanness would start again. I had really hard time with that. The hot and cold confuses me. I know BH is going through a swinging pendulum of emotions right now. As I divulge info in the timeline of events or just by being honest, he has this fits of rage, screaming, cursing and throwing things, and then he'll hug me. I just don't know how to process it. We spent all day today, talking, working on stuff for next steps. We held each other, cried, lamented, etc. At the end of the day, he says he just can't be with me because he doesn't trust me, which I get. I'm not the kind of person to make the same mistake twice. At work, I have written processes, and if an error occurs, it's documented specifically and the process changed so it never happens again. It's just my personality. I know I won't be stupid enough to betray him again, but that's not enough for him, and I get that. At this point, he says he wants to be able to make his own choices since they were made for him for so long, and he wants a woman that he can trust and love. I know I can be that woman I was for a long time before all of this, even though I had my faults. I'm expecting the worst, hoping for the best, and hoping that my kids don't hate me for destroying their dad's spirit. I'm really just hating life right now, but I'm sure that this is just how it goes. Handling the contractors was more a function of getting it done AQAP. We had an early estimated completion date of late Feb to early Mar. Baby's due date was March, and with the construction was a dedicated room for her. In fact, within weeks of learning I was pregnant, we started the process. We were all so displaced because we chose to live in our home during construction. However, we didn't move in until mid-April. It was a mess, literally and figuratively. But I agree with your point, which became crystal clear to me when I am working the long hours. We had a lot more money to spend, but no time to spend it. Irony at its best. So, I had been trying to be there more for my family. Getting everyone's favorite treats, making favorite dinners, cooking more ethnic food that BH liked. Besides date night, going for lunch, me just being in the same room as him at night while he worked. Spending time with friends, etc. because I missed that part of my life. The original reason BH found out about Maya was because I took screenshots of one text conversation that I had where OM threatened to expose me, and BH found the screenshots in my photo stream. The previous messages from OM were to the effect of, "Meet with me one more time and I'll give you all the pictures," to which I replied, "I'm not dumb enough to believe that you will give me the sole copy of whatever you claim to have not happening." But I deleted those messages in trying to CMA, so I can't show that if I had to produce them. Then after I severed contact, he sent me messages again via text and Facebook threatening to do it again, but in a very covert way. I have nothing to lose. To which I replied, "Go ahead," and told BH to expect to see something. OM texted me back that he deduced BH knew and good luck. So, I have those. What a jerk. I think he's happy my life is ruined. Misery loves company, and I think he's one miserable jerk. Final update. We're still married. Barely. Here's what really went down because you all missed a lot. 1. The day after we stopped posting, BH finally came clean. He totally had an affair with the chick in Brazil. I told him, doors open. Don't let it hit you in the ass on your way out. Looking back, I laugh. She was laughable. I told him, if you want that, go get it. He stayed put. But, before we got to this, he cried to my mother, his family, our nanny, about how I treated him so horribly, etc. Yeah, he wasn't so innocent, and he fed me to the wolves, all of you, my family, his family, etc. I ate so much crap for a long time. He told his family his one-night stand, yeah, not so much, was just that. He neglected to mention the cache of pics of his mistress, and money he sent her for books. 2. I quit my job to stay home and be a better wife, mother, etc. 3. It went from better, back to bad, to horrible, etc. He started drinking more, became really jealous. Had a fight with a door in the door one over a client hitting on me. Broke his hand. I still took him from clinic to orthopedic surgeon, personal friend, to more appointments, etc. to show I cared. Endured being called a frigid bee and some other choice names. 4. I wrote his parents, our marriage counselor, and a doctor who diagnosed him with ADHD. Rest of us are 2, begging for help. His 4 Dewey conviction stood. His license was still suspended and he was out of control. He told his family and everyone else I was a liar. They came to stage an intervention for me and my depression. The net effect after taking me to a psychiatrist, nothing. I have a crappy situation, but the psychiatrist said she hoped he'd get help for his issues. Somehow, I was still the liar. 5. Switch flips. There's nothing wrong with me, they however are crazy. So, I cut his family off for 2 years. I let them back in, and because of his jealousy, he convinced them I flirt with men in bars. They're out again. 6. I toughen up. I don't buy into his name calling. I build my business back up. I'm good. I let him have it one night years ago. I repeat most of what he said to me before you're just to see whether names don't bother him. Guess what? They do. He's hurt and feeling terrible now about what I said to him. My response, names do hurt you. Now you know how I feel. To this day, he still brings up how I was so mean to him. Funny how that works. 7. He goes after me to sleep together. After being called a bee for having an affair too, frigid bee, I'm not interested. I'm too ashamed of all the things he's called me, dragging my name in the mud to think about sleeping with him or anyone else, let alone myself, so I lock it down. He's mad about that too. I give in a little bit, but not much. 8. Another year goes by. I call up the friends he made me block and cut out of my life. They still love me and will forgive him too. Now he's got built-in buddies to do stuff with, blah, blah. Someone to say crap with about me. Yup. 9. Finally, after being called a cheater over and over by a cheater, I get tired of all of it. I start opening up my app and fight back. He's tracking me via GPS and that is not very accurate. 10. I turn 40. Throw a great party. What do I get from my loving husband? 0. Despite that, the party and being in my 40s are awesome. I no longer give a crap what most people think, as long as I'm happy, not breaking the law, setting a good example and paying my way. As much as he thinks I don't contribute, 6 figures I make every year is a decent chunk of money. 11. But he decides that my 6-figure income isn't good enough. I have guys hitting on me because people actually think I'm in my 20s, not early 40s. Eye cream works wonders. All the weight I lost from stress after D-Day stays off, because the stress is worse now. I look better than most other 42-year-old moms, but it's my fault guys are hitting on me. I had to eat that crap. Now I have some ability to show it's a pervasive, systemic issue affecting many women. He can no longer say I'm all the names he called me, while sympathizing over the horror stories from other women. 12. I befriend my doctor who delivered our first baby emergency C-section after a 36-hour labor, very traumatic. Our families live within walking distance of each other. His ex-wife is crazy, I know firsthand, but it's common knowledge around town. We commiserate over being miserable. DH tracks me down via my GPS and assumes I'm having another affair. Doc did hit on me, but I said thanks, no thanks. Nope, not interested in the guy who's nearly 20 years older than me. Sorry, not my thing. I do list his house. He's in crazy debt thanks to his ex-wife's $40,000 black card habit. It's an expensive house and a nice commission, but the assumption is that I want him. No thanks, I speak. It gets to, choose one him or me. Neither, I say. I don't want him and don't want you, the way you're acting either. In his head, that equals I want the other guy. Wrong again. How can I be more clear? Doc no longer tries, but occasionally professes his love to me when he drinks too much. I'm firm when he does, so hopefully that's done. 13. DH makes some lame-ass attempts to show he cares. Buys me several expensive gifts that 10 years ago I would have tripped over myself to have. All my closest friends, different social circles, states and even countries, sit me down in the span of a week and tell me we think it's time for you to move on. We care about you and you've been miserable for so long. He accuses me of cheating again. I'm not sleeping with anyone, not him and not even with myself. I'm not even sure my ex works anymore. At some point, my period disappears completely for over 6 months. Great menopause at 41. Awesome. Turns out, stress and lack of iron can do that. I'm back to normal and even ovulating again, not that it matters. 14. Suddenly, it all clicks. I'm the daughter of a narcissist mother. I essentially married my mother. I'm a total fool. I've been trying to empathize with someone who has none and is incapable of having concern for others, unless there's something in it for him, anything. Disclaimer, no one diagnosed him, but by now, my shrink, my cut-off but reinstated GF whose stepdad treated her own mother like dirt, and several others are saying it looks like a duck, walks like a duck. The final straw. His mother tells my mother he's upset because she, me, flirts with men in bars. 14. I file for separation. Can't take the accusations, screaming and yelling anymore. Our kids are a mess in the chaos of our house. He refuses to accept the paperwork I file myself at the courthouse. He tells me I did it wrong and filed for divorce, not separation. He retains an attorney before I can have a consult. I wasn't really sure about that lawyer, but he won't accept my filing. I should serve his attorney. I focus on work again. He starts to make attempts to be kinder, help more, do all the crap husbands do. Me, I'm skeptical. A leopard never changes his spots. I'm still holding back. 15. The drinking really has become a problem again. Embarrassing evenings out that end up with him screaming and yelling at me. I'm not even sure what I've done. One time, I actually don't say a word. He's drawn us a bath and lights into me for reasons I'm still not sure about. I ask if he's done. He says yes and I leave. Another time, he's home with the kids and nanny, high, drunk at 4:20. Says it's not a big deal, he's just trying to get through the code. The interlock device on his car is a problem. He can't drive the soccer carpool because he doesn't want to embarrass our son. So, he's driving my car and I'm trapped, all while trying to live in the other house, which is paying for itself and cash flowing pretty well. One day I realize I'm the mom stuck driving the soccer carpool while trying to get my broker's license. Another time or two happen when he's drunk. High etc. can't drive because the interlock device on his car won't start and he doesn't want to get caught driving drunk again at seemingly normal daytime, evening hours. 16. Hubby moves back to the condo because he's leaving me again. I go to bring his lame-ass dinner with the kids and find him in a questionable sitch. Kids saw too. What the hell? There's no denying or gaslighting this time. Our 13-year-old son saw what I saw. I'm out, but he weasels his way back in trying to be super dad. We move on. Fast forward to President's Day weekend. I catch him in another questionable sitch. This time I throw him out because it's something our kids could have seen. I'm so disgusted. He shares a devastating trauma in his childhood, which makes perfect sense, and weasels his way back in again. 17. The separation filing falls off the court docket due to the papers not being served. And DH is now regularly telling me I'm using him and that he's carrying me. Our life is very my and your. Separate bank accounts, etc. After getting fed up with his $25,000 tax penalty for failing to pay out any withholding for 18 months for his new business, I dug up our taxes and discovered a few things. I made as much or more money than him a few years, and I was paying a whole lot of our taxes. Until summer 16, I was claiming 1 exemption for withholding. He's claiming 5. What the hell? This is not a marriage. There are many people who keep stuff separate for a whole host of reasons, but getting married is a partnership. I don't want to account for every penny earned, spent, or every minute logged in managing our life. That just plain sucks. 18. Next, he's called me a gold digger. I'm in our rental until the next set of tenants come on soon. I have to go back to the misery of our house this weekend. I'm waiting for the consult with new and very busy attorney, referral from my client, DRS, his own attorney who's familiar with nut jobs. DH actually sent me a message last night reminding me of this thread and how I admitted to my 5-year affair. That led me to look back on this post too and reply to DH. I'd forgotten about the post I wrote under the pretense that only I had had an affair, even though I suspected you did too. Thanks for reminding me exactly you are. I appreciate it. Let's get a few things straight. My affair, emotional, physical, any, went for 4 years. In the exercise DH had me do for full disclosure, I had to account for every time I saw the OM. It was 6 times total. In 4 years, I still had an affair. It was physical and emotional. I needed companionship, but still wrong. However, I'm not repenting for anything other than a 4-year affair. He actually thinks I should be repentant for the months up to the affair that were 100% platonic and the period of time from when it ended to when he found out. He's not willing to apply that same equation to his affair, so nope. Oh, last thought on this. He told me he thought he was falling in love with his first rule of affairs. Don't fall in love with the OW. Nothing good can come of it. Even less good can come from admitting it. All 3 kids are mine. We have 3 DNA tests and matches on Ancestry. Time to prove it. DH sucks at math. That deficiency humiliated me to no end. I'm not sure I'll ever be the same for it. I have not cheated again. I haven't tried and don't plan to. I hope to someday see the but not for the reason you're thinking. I'd love to drop kick him in his balls. Hope I have my stilettos on that day. DH is sort of attending AA meetings. He isn't an alcoholic but told me yesterday that the 12 steps are a great way to make your life better. Really, I thought manning up and owning your crap kind of accomplished the same thing. My shrink supports me at our regular sessions, but the underlying message is from the guy who is happily married, but comes from a long line of addicts, including his own dad, brother, son, and many other members of the family. Did I mention he's on staff at a local hospital for substance abuse, is building me up to be independent and get the hell out. He's not being spoon-fed anything from me because he was our marriage counselor. Number 3, I think. He tied up the link between addiction, narcissism, and spousal abuse. I've made great progress rebuilding self-esteem, cutting off my mother, and building boundaries by taking no more crap. Am I 100% innocent in this show? Hell no. I made lots of mistakes but can own every last one. DH, not so much. Final thoughts. I'd like to thank each and every one of you trash who, instead of offering advice, judged, jumped to conclusions, and blamed me for everything. DH even tried to tell me he had his affair because subconsciously he knew about mine and it was retaliation. Nice try. Not even close. Many of you, his family, and their intervention all led me to conclude that other people's accusations of me aren't my problem. I no longer care what you think. I'd like to thank being 40. There are lots of self-serving people in this world who will jump on the blame bandwagon instead of asking for clues and putting the puzzle together themselves. Kind of reminiscent of Germany in the early 40s. In business, the most successful people are problem solvers focused on solutions. My business is not doing well, but I'm working to undo that. Working, if done right, should give people a sense of purpose. I love my job and I'm good at it. Don't judge working mothers who don't want to give up being a hero to stay at home, wipe butts, clean dishes, and fold laundry all day unless you've done it. It's thankless and endless. Just as DH loves and thrives at his occupation, I do too. We all need something to stimulate us and give us the validations we all need. I know so many women who have had very similar stories to mine. The emotional and mental toll of domestic abuse is devastating. Until you're in it yourself, you have no idea how debilitating it is. Just when I doubted it really happened to me, I had more than a handful of friends confirm they saw the way DH treated me. They didn't speak up because our society says don't get involved in other people's crap. That's a crappy way to live. I wasn't joking about being X. Remember, a girl was convicted of successfully convincing her boyfriend to X his own life. Words hurt people. A little tact goes a long way. I've had some frank conversations with my kids about the impact of our words. I aspire with some girlfriends who also have similar stories to mine to start a group for women, a village for all people really, to find a better way to handle or get out of situations like this. I want everyone to have a place for people to lift the up. Sure, we'll make mistakes and my story is bad, but I've heard way worse. Some people are really messed up. It's really sad, but I'm not a victim. After years of being super modest, I'm ready to flaunt it a little. I'm not looking for anything or seeking revenge. I earned it. I eat cleanly, take care of myself, and make an effort to look good and feel good. Other women do it, and many shouldn't. Having a jealous husband who can't handle it, the attention I get, is not my problem. I caught DH in his affair 3 weeks before I gave birth. I told no one other than my closest girlfriends, who wanted to throw me a baby shower. I didn't want to celebrate. I could have dragged him over hot coals but didn't. Why? It wasn't right. Period. How could I mow him down with the bus when I was guilty of the same? Unfortunately, DH didn't have the same restraint. He had his pity party and you bought it. I hope you feel really dumb. I wasn't threatened by a 20-year-old skank in another country. I earn a good living and have a business degree from one of the best schools in the nation. If he wants that crap, be my guest. I probably won't want him at that point anyway. I don't want to be divorced. I want DH to love me and treat me right. I want to do the same for him. But I don't think he's capable, and I'm not eating crap every day for the rest of my life to stay in it. Being married for 40+ years, both sets of our parents are. My grandparents were married for 70 years. Know what? My grandpa had a baby out of wedlock and my grandma ate crap her whole life for it. My grandfather was a hypocritical ass who I will never forgive for that and turning his back on my aunt who rejected her cheating husband. I'm not going to repeat history and let that keep going. I come from a long line of unhappily married, forever people. I don't want that. Life's too short and Alzheimer's runs in my family. But do what you want. I hope my husband pulls his crap out of his bottom and figures it out in time. I've told him many times that I won't let him steal my joy. He tries, but I'm an eternal optimist, aren't all realtors. I have an appointment with the new attorney unless I decide to engage her colleague. I'll be on the train out of this crap show until then. I don't care if you respond to this post or what you think. I will be out living my life with the village of people who support me, who have offered me money, a place to live in peace, and have come to me for my professional skills. My life isn't perfect, but I'll take it. It's a hell of a lot better than the Jerry Springer crap I've endured for nearly 2 decades. I'm out. Peace. P.S. I've decided that most people in this parade have some serious issues and hope they're getting therapy to overcome them. But whatever, therapy helps you to move on and stay out of other people's crap. I don't think some of the viewers here offer very good advice. They've done more damage to me in our marriage than you will ever know. Narcissists are very clever manipulators. I had a period of stupidity and recklessness and an affair with someone I trusted and considered a friend. I cheated and it wasn't right. I was a bad wife for that. But I was a good wife too, before and after. I was there for my husband when he had melanoma, held him when he cried over my affair, before and after he admitted his, zipped his pants and cut up his food after he punched a door and broke his hand. You read a thread, drew your own conclusion about my loose morals. I won't speak for DH. He's his own person. For the record, I think you're rude and judgmental. So, we're even. You want the truth. I'm sad and lonely. My marriage is toxic. Why? My parents are toxic. I spent a week with my kids visiting family out of state a week ago. I spent 2 hours talking to 2 aunts, one from each side of the family. They both validated that my parents are judgmental and unforgiving. My mother abused my father verbally from the time I was a kid and still does now. Today I know what abuse looks and can call her for it. But she doesn't like that. My poor dad defends her even as she abuses him. I learned how to take it a long time ago and always did. I read some of the posts in this infidelity forum about how after being treated like dirt, people go out and have affairs. It isn't right, but it's one escape from the harsh reality. My affair was more emotional than anything else. It represented the love I wasn't getting at home and didn't get as a kid. Now that I know more about it, I'm trying to undo those patterns. They exist throughout my entire family, on both sides. I talked to my cousins about it while I was on vacation. We talked about how this pattern of abuse affected our own marriages, our parents' marriages, and shamefully affected my grandparents too. My grandfather treated my poor grandma like dirt, except we didn't know it. All the truth coming out at once was a reality that was a lot for me. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to resolve my abandonment issues that won't go away. The comment about the older man above. Dating a man 20 years my senior just seems like a destiny with abandonment. Dating, marriage to a man with unresolved issues, whether addiction, personality disorder, or otherwise, in my eyes equals abandonment. I was a latchkey kid at age 11. I've always had to take care of myself despite whatever life throws at me. I did, do, and I thrive. Doesn't mean I'm not scared or ready to face misery head on. I credit my husband for addressing his alcoholism. 4 months sober, his mom thinks is 6 months. Set her straight. ADHD, in treatment. Lack of participation in our family. He's done more in the last 12 months for me and our kids, than in the previous 15 years of our marriage. I've been dealing with all of this for 16 years. I'm tired, still lonely, and he's still cruel to me. I can't tell you how many times he's thrown me out of our house, of our room, even vacation last month. We were at his nephew's wedding, our ring bearer. On the morning of the wedding, all 3 kids were in it. He told me to go find my own hotel room and a rental car. Just as quickly, he said he didn't mean it and wanted me to stay. You can't take stuff like that back. My individual counselor suggested he may have a dual diagnosis, an addict with a personality disorder. Mind you, my counselor has been treating substance abuse for a few decades and is on staff at a hospital. Addiction and mental illness also runs rampant in his family. I researched it and it fits the bill. Addiction and mental illness runs in his family. He told me it's all fixable, but only if hubby is willing. Problem is, he'll fix some things, but wants me to be the worst one. Whatever his problems are, I have to overcome more. Except, I've run out of stuff to fix, except my marriage. I've fixed me as much as I can. Do we ever stop trying to be better? But he generalizes my issues and can't name anything specific other than I'm the one starting the arguments. Side note, I don't have to say anything for him to get and stay angry. He can get there all by himself. I'm ashamed to admit this. In December, since caught him high, drunk and in women's clothes. Claimed he bought them for me. In March, I found him high, drunk and passed out in a room full of toys at 7 a.m. on a school morning. The toys are because of our non-physical marriage. I'm not getting any either, but I know videos isn't the answer. He didn't help me get our kids to school and was passed out in the shower, dangerous on its own. If our kids came in and saw everything out, that would have been child abuse. He's been high and drunk in the middle of the day while working many times throughout the years. So, he's unfortunately unreliable as a parent too. My husband is unwilling to go to counseling, deal with or talk about his dark secret that only I know. I'm supposed to deal with the fallout all on my own. Sadly, because addicts lie, he's a dry drunk. I'm starting to worry about whether that's even real. I feel guilty questioning it, but I have to. As a parent, I'm scared. I'm not doing my kids favors by exposing them to all this. I sat down with him last week and quietly, carefully begged him to go seek a full psychiatric evaluation. I read to him what I suspected, laid out my concerns, user's guide, and it seemed he was willing to go. My counselor agreed last week I wasn't enabling him by giving him referrals for psychiatrists. I gave him two. One is family handpicked by 3 years ago to evaluate me for mental illness during my intervention. She concluded I had ADHD, except by that time I'd been diagnosed and treated for 2 years. His family, though I was self-diagnosed. She also said I had adjustment disorder, a crappy situation, and that it sounded like he needed help. I called her 2 days. We discussed that borderline personality disorder might be the issue, not her specialty. She referred another, who I passed on to him. Even though the referral is in network and the office 5 miles away from us, it seems he has no intention of going. Today I gave him the ultimatum: get an evaluation by the end of this week to rule out and potentially treat mental illness, or I had 2 choices: stay and risk our kids' sanity, safety, or leave. The first isn't an option. That leaves one. His response was, it is already just me and has been for a really long time. It's clear you are unwilling to acknowledge your part in ongoing conflict. You can spin it and act like you're being asked to take responsibility for my parts, but that isn't true. I was willing to explore and investigate with you, but not for you. You can be out. There is no reason to wait until the end of the week. My affair was wrong, but it was my attempt at escape. I consulted a divorce attorney before my affair crossed my mind. The guy told me I couldn't, something about having no rights to my unborn child. Sounded like garbage, but I was stuck. My counselor knew and advised me to seek support from a girlfriend, but I didn't listen. He was the first one to tell me I'd be okay if I left. That was years before the madness. I've done all I can do and have to draw the line. Tell me how you'd have handled it better, then realize it's not your life to live or judge. My comment: my guess, the marriage has been crap the entire time. My guess is that guilt drove your first post and you framed your relationship, despite everything outside of your frame was ugly. So, you're in a marriage with an addict with long-term issues. You both did not do what was necessary to resolve those issues, and instead of ending the relationships, you both decided to stay in it but get what you are needing from outside of your relationship, making your true relationship worse. You both have mental, behavioral issues. Honestly, this relationship is not one. Please, one of you, make a decision and stick to it. If you want to stay and be ready to deal with the pain of reconciliation and his recovery, treatment. If you don't want to stay, hire a lawyer. Either way, it seems like neither of you really want to be in this, but both of you are too scared to do it.